In 2011, the International Labour Organization adopted a convention for the human rights of domestic workers. They demanded the rights to unionization, the right to fair wages, the elimination of discrimination and forced labor, including child labor, the right to retain passports and travel documents for all domestic workers, and the right to cash wages at least once a month. This gives you an idea of what the situation of domestic workers is worldwide. And the ILO also called on member organizations to regulate, enforce, and also create complaint procedures to address their provisions. Here are some more facts about domestic workers. The International Labor Organization, according to a report titled Making Decent Work a Reality for Migrant Domestic Workers, estimates that 53 million people worldwide, totally 1/13 of all women workers across the globe, are engaged in domestic work. According to the same report, 1.5 million domestic workers are migrants. Now, why is this important? Well, when you lack citizenship, you also lack a major venue to claim your employment rights, and you lack access to the government regulation that protects so many other workers. Employment contracts in this sector are rare, and employers often disregard them. The ILO stresses that really this is something that most domestic workers have no regulations protecting them at all, and no contract enforcement. In the United States, 70% of U.S. domestic workers earn less than $13 per hour, according to the National Domestic Workers Association's report, Home Economics, the Invisible and Unregulated World of Domestic Work. Now, living wages are estimated as between $13 and $15 per hour by other policy reports, and it really depends on where in the United States you're living. Domestic workers do tend to be concentrated and in particularly high demand in urban centers with higher costs of living. According to the same report, a full 23% of U.S. domestic workers earn less than minimum wage. There's no governmental oversight or regulation, and many are undocumented workers, so they can't necessarily report their wages to authorities for fear of deportation. That fear is especially strong for mothers who have their children in the United States and cannot afford to be separated from them by deportation. 65% of U.S. domestic workers, again according to the NDWA, have no health insurance at all. And the health risks of domestic work are enormous. They include chronic injury and exposure to toxic chemicals. Chronic injuries such as neck, back, and shoulder pain, as well as carpal tunnel and other stress injuries, are a common problem. Now, the ILO, the International Labor Organization, also identifies lack of rest for live-in workers as a major problem. And the National Domestic Workers Association estimates that 25% of U.S. live-ins get less than 5 hours of sleep. In fact, the International Labor Organization has a new campaign in addition to their 2011 call for human rights, which is about the right to rest. They recommend that in total, workers receive 11 hours per 24 hours off duty and 24 hours per week not working. There's also no protection against verbal, physical, or sexual abuse, and the National Domestic Workers Association emphasizes these problems. Sexual abuse from employers is more common than you may think, and accurate data is still a problem. Furthermore, the lack of legal status discourages many women from reporting their abuse. The National Domestic Workers Association also points out that many live-in workers cannot even leave their workplaces. It's effectively a form of modern-day slavery when you're locked in and you cannot leave. Many domestic workers would in fact qualify for human trafficking victims and are eligible for those visas. So what can you do? Well, one option among many, in addition to going to the International Labor Organization and supporting their work, is to support a group called Caring Across Generations. You can visit them at caringacross.org and find them at the hashtag #WeAllCare. They're involved in encouraging all states to regulate domestic work and in the fight for $15 an hour for domestic workers. Let's make that a reality.